So speaking a little bit more about the draft in general, there were some comments made about Caleb Williams and what he should do, projected to be the number one overall pick. And yes, I'm talking about RG3. I'm talking about
he said,
RG3.
I wouldn't go. I agree, man. I totally agree with him.
Here's the thing. RG3's comments made zero sense.
Is he
Zero.
wrong?
Yes, absolutely. What was
the Bears?
What was the basis of his argument? Justin
Fields' argument is that there are dysfunctional organizations, and being on this side of being an ex-player, I can tell you that a little bit of how your career ultimately ends up depends on who you put the hands into. If you go to the Browns, they said this isn't just like a Bears thing. They said the same thing about the Browns. They were like, no, they said the same thing about Joe Burrow. Stephen A. Smith was like, I wouldn't even let him go to the Cincinnati Bengals because that place is just dysfunction. He took him to a Super Bowl.
And you know what's funny enough, though? He's like, the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders have not been... They are just as dysfunctional, yet he mentioned them as the team that he should go to. He grew up in Washington, D.C. Sure, I get all that. The thing is, why are you putting down the Bears to put up the Commanders when they are just as bad?
That's why.
Sure, okay, but he's saying...
You see how they do their players. Don't think that there's not another you around the corner.
Here's the thing. Why hasn't every projected number one overall draft pick done this? Guess where the number one overall draft pick goes? To the worst team the season prior. Mm-hmm. You're going to tell me that the worst team the season prior is like, oh, this is a good organization. They just fucking lost the NFL season in general. Well, every first overall pick goes to the worst team.
It should be going to the Panthers, technically.
Exactly. It should be going to the Panthers. Now, look, this is why it doesn't make any sense for what RG3 said. This is what he said. His basis of his argument was, look how they treated Justin Fields. And then he said, and then he went on to name DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, how the offensive line has improved. And yet he still said, that's not going to be a good situation. Dude, are you fucking insane? The Bears not only improved to one of the best defenses over the last 6 or so games last season, they improved the offense. Their offensive line has improved over the last 3 seasons. They're going to just continue getting better, and there's consistency with Poles and Eberflus, I guess. They brought in Shane Waldron to be the new offensive coordinator. What are you talking about? This is probably one of the best situations you can find yourself in as a rookie quarterback. You're gonna tell me you're going into the league and you're gonna throw to DJ Moore, who just had a career season last year in catches, yards, and touchdowns, and also your wide receiver number 2 is a 6-time Pro Bowler in Keenan Allen, who yes is 31 and probably going to be 32 by the time the season starts, but this is a bad situation. You have a young top 10 tight end, Cole Kmet. You have a young, mostly improved offensive line that the Bears have, and what is expected to be a top 10 defensive unit coming into next year. And RG3 is saying, but look what they got for Justin Fields. Dude, fuck you. No, Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus did not draft Justin Fields. Justin Fields has been hurt every season. Justin Fields was given DJ Moore and still struggled as a passer.
What are you going to do?
I don't understand. Jersey? I'm still gonna wear it because it's a salute to service. And she got it for me, and it's a present.
What does it say? What does the jersey say? Return to service.
Return. Hey, yo, chill. Look, man, I just don't understand. I just don't understand what RG3's comments were. His whole basis of his argument was they just traded Justin Fields, and that's the organization you want to go to. The organization that has all these weapons on offense, and again, an expected top 10 defense for the 2024 season. Like, what do you mean? What the history? Yes, totally understandable. Why are you going to put that on Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus and brand new president what's his name? I always forget his name. They brought in a completely new regime, which, yes, it's kind of just recycling with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy were 7 years ago, whatever it was. But look at what Ryan Poles has done as a GM. You're going to tell me what he's done as a GM is bad? Like, no. The way they handled Justin Fields was given a raw deal, man. Let's just call it what it is. He was brought in his first year. He was drafted by a GM that was going to get fired. He was under a head coach who was already on the hot seat, got fired the season after, and was brought into a completely dysfunctional team with no weapons. Darnell Mooney was his number one wide receiver. Cole Kmet was in his first or second year. Of course, it was a shitty situation for Justin Fields, but you're going to put that all on Ryan Poles and how they handled the situation? Dude, they had no ties to Justin Fields. Justin Fields to that draft in 2021 was Bo Nix and Michael Penix, which is something that you are kind of like, we're not going to reach on one of those guys. That's what Justin Fields was. Let's be real. I was excited to get Justin Fields because of what he did at Ohio State. Absolutely. I was jumping up and down for joy. You guys can see me on my Twitter. I was jumping up and down for joy when they drafted Justin Fields. But but to just make that your argument for you should pull an Eli Manning and sit out, like, dude, shut the fuck up, RG3, because you are literally walking into Cam Newton territory right now.
It's my turn.
It's my turn.
Skip Bayless. It's my turn.
And another thing. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, in all reality,
Wrong.
sorry, I got stuck between Kyle and Skip Bayless and couldn't figure out who I was there for a second. Okay, there's a little bit of truth to what actually everything you said is truth. But there's a little bit of truth on the other side as well, and I think the first thing to break down is that you're a Bears fan, so
Facts.
you're like, what the fuck is he talking shit about my team for?
Yeah.
And I would say to that I don't think it's intentional towards the Bears, but RG3 has always been an ex-player that's looking out for players. Now you'll see, like, any opportunity he gets to kind of stand in the gap for a player, that he will. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way his career went. You're right. You said earlier his second season was amazing, and he just
first year,
because he played through an injury and they put him in a playoff game and he re-injured that thing and his career ended. Like, it's a miracle that he's not freaking in a cabin somewhere just like drinking his life away because of the way his football career went. And instead he was like, you know what? It's not going to shape me. I'm going to go into media. And he looks out for players, and he's got a weird way of doing it. But I think when you look at the fact that the fan base did want Fields, right? They chanted, "We want Fields." Now, all of Bears fans are super excited now about Caleb Williams. So it's like, you got a new girlfriend right away. Like, you're not going to be worried about it because she's, more attractive, and it's a distraction. To me, Caleb Williams is a distraction. I've been saying this all along, that the Bears have a really great opportunity right now to break the generational curse of never having a 4,000-yard passer, which is concerning when you bring in all these quarterbacks, because then it makes you feel like, well, maybe it's not the player, maybe it's the place. And like, you're like, yeah, well, that you can't hold us accountable because that happened with this other regime. But after enough years, you stop keeping track of who's the coach. And I'm not saying that I'm like this, but you don't look for the excuses. You just go, oh, the Browns were like this until they drafted Baker Mayfield. So you can draft your way out of this. The Bengals they had their days with Carson Palmer, but they spent a lot of time sucking. They got out of it, not with Andy Dalton, but with Joe Burrow. So why I see what you're saying is because, like, of course, every organization has a guy that comes in and he changes that franchise forever. So if nobody ever, if like Joe Burrow would have not gone to the Bengals wouldn't have gone to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff does happen. But I think what this was about was that the Bears had a pretty not a great team. And yeah, Justin Fields was getting hurt. But then last year, he's only 1 year removed from being the most sacked quarterback in the league. And sure,
Mm-hmm.
him and Russ both take a lot of sacks. So it's kind of some of them are their fault. But he's only 1 year removed from that. Then you go into the season, he's dealing with injuries. Then you make this trade, a blockbuster move. Even though it wasn't worth like multiple firsts, but the Montez
Mm-hmm.
Sweat deal was huge. And I
Huge.
was really open about it immediately, about how big that deal was. That's like that's a Hall of Famer,
Mm-hmm.
probably.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you bring Fields in, you start winning games. You're on a 1, 2, 3, 4 game winning streak. The fans chanting, "We want Fields." And the only reason you have the first round draft pick is not because Justin Fields played so poorly that you earned
Mm-hmm.
it, but
Mm-hmm.
because you made a trade with Carolina last year. All I'm saying is that generally what happens is a quarterback plays so poorly that they're the worst team in the NFL, and then you get to draft with the first overall pick. This is not that case. This is the Bears kind of turned a page. They got something going. The fans were into it, and it just felt like there was brighter days ahead. It felt like at the end of last season. I know it ended with that Packers loss, but before that, there was a lot to be like looking forward to. And Justin Fields didn't put the Bears in that position. They were
Sure.
as much as we joked about it, they were only a couple games out of the playoffs, and now you're sending Justin Fields to a place. And look, I have respect for Ryan Poles for sending Fields to a place that he can win the starting job, obviously over Russell Wilson,
Possibly. Yeah.
because I guess around the league, the thinking is that he's a backup. So at least they did right by him
Mm-hmm.
and sent him to a place where he can compete. So I don't know. Like I see the truth somewhere in the middle. Like I understand. Like I wouldn't say like he shouldn't go to the Bears, but I don't have a hard time seeing why an ex-player or Stephen A. Smith, whenever these people say this, I always understand what they mean. Like you could be Patrick Mahomes if Andy Reid is your head coach. What would Patrick
Sure.
Mahomes have looked like with Eberflus? And we'll never know the answers to these questions. It's like, what would you look like if you didn't take creatine? You just don't know
Mm-hmm.
if it works, So
Mm-hmm.
you'll never know. But after enough years, I think you start to stop having hope. That it's like, okay, eventually it's like if everybody you date doesn't work out, it's you. It's not like it's not all the people. It's like, why are you picking all the wrong people? And now they're in a
Mm-hmm.
position where they don't have to pick anyone. It's just obvious, right?
Yeah.
So maybe this is different. It's like
And
both paths can have success in them. That's the thing.
I guess what I'm saying is what you said is correct. It looked like there was brighter days ahead. The last third of the season for the Bears was looking really good. The defense started to work, look, and play better. The offense, with DJ Moore inserted there, with Justin Fields coming back from injury, started to look and play a lot better. Thing is, Ryan Poles knew last year before the draft that there was teams, just like there are teams this year, that wanted a quarterback in Stroud and Bryce Young. He knew what he had winning 3 games and having the number 1 overall draft pick. So he said, you know what? Hey, Carolina, here's the number 1. And we're hoping you guys are going to be so bad that we're going to have the number 1 next year, because at that point we have so much leverage over the draft, which again, they do. But again, when you bring in how Justin Fields played, he played better. He's improved every year. There's no doubt about it. The numbers speak for themselves. Was he injured every year? Yes. Did he have a bad offensive line, which made him one of the most sacked quarterbacks in his 3 years in the league? 100% correct. The thing is This year, if we kept Justin Fields, he was going to be on his third offensive coordinator. They were going to have to decide on their 5th-year option by May, end of May, June, whatever it is, whatever the date is. They were going to have to decide whether or not they're going to pay Justin Fields $25 million for his 5th-year option before his 4th year playing. Why wouldn't you, again, bring in a cheap quarterback, a number 1 overall pick, to a brand new offensive coordinator, the same head coach for the 3rd year in a row, the same GM for the 3rd year in a row, DJ Moore is your wide receiver 1, Keenan Allen your wide receiver 2, Cole Kmet, a vastly improved offensive line, a top 10 unit in the defense. Again, there's like so many reasons why you would want to bring someone in there. We're not talking about the Bears are, and you said it, right? You mentioned it. The Bears are not the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are the reason they had the number 1 overall pick. We're not talking about Caleb Williams going to a Panthers-like team who didn't have a wide receiver, whose defense was meh, right? And whose offense had no weapons, like 0 weapons. We're not talking about a team like that. We're talking about a vastly improved team who any quarterback going into a team like this would be lucky. Let's be honest. Like, Caleb Williams is going to have a ton of weapons to throw to, and they just got DeAndre Swift, which just helps them in the running game as well. I just don't really understand RG3's point. His only point is, look what they did to Justin Fields. And it's like, what do you mean what they did to Justin Fields? They didn't do anything to Justin Fields except trade him to a place, by the way, that he wanted, that they wanted to do right to him by. They had several other offers for better draft picks instead of that 6th to a conditional 4th. They had better offers, but they wanted to do right by Justin Fields. At one point, you got to cut loose. You got to give Poles credit, right? You got to cut loose when you got to cut loose. And this is a situation that no matter what GM you are, would have done the same exact thing.